The ancient Greeks used to believe that creativity was bestowed upon you from a higher being. If you were suitable for acting on an idea, the gods would grant it to you and expect you to follow through. What we know today is that the brain works throughout connections of neutral pathways. You experience something throughout any of your five senses, and these networks in your body all react accordingly. When those networks continuously become active, they create a type of memory, and these memories are formed for many, many things, including things we don't consciously acknowledge. This all becomes extremely important for the creative process in a later step, which has nothing to do with your experiences or knowledge. Instead, the first step to the process is intent. Imagine you're putting a puzzle together, and you have the box of pieces sitting in front of you. The first step to figuring out the puzzle is to want to solve the puzzle. That's the first step to creative thought as well, even though the difference between creative process and the process of putting a puzzle together is that for creativity, you don't have to consciously have the intent. So we have intent. We know that we're going to put the creative puzzle together in front of us. Now, what do we do? The next step in the process is to explore or gather. Like putting a puzzle together, we need to gather all of the pieces into one place. In this example, the pieces of a puzzle are simply memories or our experiences with various objects or situations. Colors or shapes, sounds, people we know, books we've read, food we tasted, dreams we've dreamed, all count as pieces for our puzzle. Your brain naturally sorts through pieces that may look like they fit and those that won't. Now that you have intent and pieces to work with, you have to start putting pieces together, physically seeing where things fit together and where they don't. This is the step of connecting and experimenting. Often during this phase of the process, you'll start seeing things that don't work and things that absolutely will. You'll notice when there are gaping holes in what you have and what you hope to end up with. The purpose of this phase isn't to critique, which many people mistakenly do while trying to create. You can't accurately critique a painting that is halfway done. That's not fair to what the final painting could be like. This is true of ideas as well. Until the idea is more fully fleshed out, you might be doing yourself a disservice to try to critique it. So, like putting a puzzle together, don't step back from what you were working on until you're closer to the end. Ensure that it's either what you were hoping for or too far off. Once you have started to create something from all of the experimentation and seeing where various pieces can go, you can finally step back and do the last step of the process, which is evaluation. Without evaluation, your brain doesn't know whether it's on the right track or not. And how could you know anyway? If you don't take time to evaluate a mostly complete idea, that's like putting a puzzle together blindfolded. The real magic to all of this is that it's a process that occurs so often in our subconscious without us having to do anything at all. If we're providing the right materials for our mind to pull from, it will often do much of the work for us, which is why the idea seems to strike us when we're least expecting them. So to recap, where do ideas come from? They come from our experiences and knowledge. Creative ideas are the result of a broad intent and a lot of connecting and experimenting on the part of your subconscious. Our mind wants to come up with original thoughts, so we must simply get out of the way to do that. And where do ideas come from? As romantic as it sounds, in us, in our neutral networks, which are formed and strengthened by our experiences and thoughts. That's it. In conclusion, a small piece of advice on how to improve your own creative process. Make sure you have a lot of varied experiences and knowledge for your subconscious to utilize. Then get out of its way, which means stop thinking about the project or the problem. Your brain will run throughout the process on its own, and before you know it, you'll have some insight into what action you need to take in order to make that creative idea into reality. For example, writing is a deeply personal process. The process of getting our ideas into a page can be a sensitive one. We might get our best ideas while we're in the shower, or while we're getting out for a walk, or while staring into the sea. It doesn't really matter, it can happen anywhere. A writer might find the ideas flow more freely while seated at a desk, or while perched on a roof of a doghouse. Some writers have to take a cup of coffee before sitting down to write. Some have to have a glass of wine, or maybe something even stronger. It all depends on the process that fits the writer the best, and everybody has to find their own. We're all individuals with individual mindsets.